Do you have what it takes to become a champion, defeat 9 other people, and claim the title of the Sunbearer? Because let's face it, that would be cool, and is also the topic of today's video, which is a review of the Sunbearer trials by Aiden Thomas. Hey everyone, how you doing today? I'm Kirsty if you're new here, and if you are not already aware, Aiden Thomas is a very firm favourite author of mine. I've now read 3 books of theirs, and let me tell you, I love this author so much. Their writing is brilliant and improves every single book, and every book that they have written I have teared up at least once, which doesn't always happen with me, and yeah. This book was no exception. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much to NetGalley and Macmillan for sending me an ARC of this book, and I'm so glad that I managed to just about read it before it was released. It has now been released in both the UK and the US, and I have not yet heard on the grapevine any special editions coming out for the UK, but the second I know, I will let you know. I gave this book 4.5 stars, and there are a couple of reasons why it didn't quite get a 5-star, but I'll go through that shortly. And the premise of this is the Hunger Games kind of meets Percy Jackson. We've got a whole host of deities who fall under one of 3 categories. We have the Obsidians, who are like the evil deities who are currently locked away in a prison. We have the Golds, who are like the elite top level, Justice League, Odin, Zeus, those kind of level gods. And then we have the Jades, who are like the sort of the minor gods and are less powerful and less revered than the Golds. Every 10 years, an event takes place which is called the Sunbearer trials, where 10 teenagers who are the offspring of these deities take part in a series of trials that test various aspects of their strength and their knowledge and their constitution, all of these types of things. And at the end of this trial, we have the one who is the winner and crowned Sunbearer, and then the one who comes in last is offered as a sacrifice, as their sacrifice is what gives power to the Soul Stone, which is the key to keeping these evil gods at bay. And this is a thing that's been going on for millennia, and it's just become a part of, it's just a fact of life, is that every 10 years someone will be sacrificed in order to protect the world. It might sound a bit barbaric, why is it a sacrifice? But it's because Sol, who was the creator of the universe, they were the ones to sacrifice themselves in order to imprison the Obsidian gods, and so the trials is kind of like a nod to them and as an honor to them in that continuing on that sacrifice and that thing of you can't have freedom without the sacrifice of something huge, and in this case it is a life of a person. So you can imagine that if you are a child of the deities, you're a little bit going to be a bit nervous about the trials. The Jades rarely get chosen. It's been over 100 years since the last Jade was ever chosen. The Golds are like the athletes. They are the ones that get to go to the prestigious school that trains them for this. And so Teo, who is a Jade and the main character of our story, he doesn't really care about the trials. He's not worried. He knows he's not going to get chosen, but he is scared because his best friend Naya is a prime candidate and he just knows that she is going to get chosen. And he is obviously terrified for her. So when the day comes where they are chosen, he is heartbroken that Naya gets chosen, and then to his shock, not only does he get chosen, but also another Jade. And therein starts the story of him trying to keep himself alive, keep his friends alive, and try to ensure that none of them end up at the bottom. And this is an amazing story. We've got so much rep in this book. There is deaf rep, trans rep, there is gay rep, there is, I'm pretty sure there's a bisexual rep in there. There is talks of mental health, body dysphoria, not knowing about your identity, gender confirmation, all sorts in this book. It's amazing. This feels so authentic and so natural. And a lot of it I know stems from Aiden themselves being non-binary and trans, And also, I'm pretty sure that Aiden is deaf as well. I need to double check that, but I am pretty sure that they are deaf as well, which is why they like to include that deaf rep in the book. And I liked that it wasn't that there was a deaf character and they were barely in it. They really made sure to include scenes where even Teo, the main character, stopped himself at one point and was like, oh, Desi's deaf, I can't shout. And I really liked that even in the heat of the moment where he's got this fear, he thought to stop and be aware of the fact that there was a disability. Mental health was written really well in this, and one of the most refreshing things about this book is that this is a society where if you come out as trans, there's no sort of conflict about it, and there's no like misgendering and dead naming. It's just a case of, okay, so you've decided that you're a boy, we're going to have a gender confirmation ceremony, and that's it, you're now a boy. And there was one scene in particular where I was worried that it turned out Teo's mum didn't support him because he was wearing a binder. And I thought, oh, like the mum saw the binder and kind of paused. And I went, oh no, please don't tell me she's going to be funny about this. And it wasn't that at all. It was because wearing this binder, he has wings, but his wings are still the colour of being a female. And so wearing the binder is a way for him to hide the fact that he has female wings, and it's the biggest cause of his dysphoria. And his mum was more worried about the fact that he was damaging his wings and hurting himself than the fact that he was male. And it was just so refreshing because, you know, in reality there is usually conflict. There's always going to be that one person who's going to be transphobic and going to be horrible. But in this society, it was just like, you know, it's such a normal, integrated part of society. And it's like, that's the kind of future that I would like to see, where people can just come out as they are and not face that judgment. And I just thought it was so beautiful. One of my biggest things that I love is how body dysphoria is presented in this book. I do suffer quite badly with body dysphoria in the chest area. I'm 5'2" with a FF/G, depending on what I'm wearing, chest. And let me tell you, that causes such severe dysphoria. And it's just one part of my body I can never change. It causes me pain, it causes me trouble. I once got an abscess that, because there's so much tissue they couldn't quite get to, which then put me in hospital for 4 days with a severe infection that they couldn't control. So I have a lot of dysphoria when it comes to my breasts, and I feel like it's a different place that it's coming from. But the emotions and the feelings that were going on through the book that related to the dysphoria, I was like, oh yes, I'm feeling this. And I related hard to that. There was also grief in this book, like past trauma and past griefs, which we get into more later on in the book. And again, I thought that that was written really well, and that's where I started to tear up and start to cry, because Aiden Thomas has a way of writing emotion that just slays you and goes straight to your heart and kills you. So kudos. And also I feel like the writing has improved. So even though their books in release order went Cemetery Boys, Lost in the Netherwoods, Sunbearer Trials, in terms of when they were written and when they were intended to be published, it should have gone Lost in the Netherwoods, Cemetery Boys. And I feel like when you read the two books, you can tell, because the writing in Lost in the Netherwoods felt a lot more amateurish compared to Cemetery Boys. And then when I found out that that was because that was meant to be their first book, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I always had a problem with Aiden's writing, in that I felt that there was an overuse of descriptors and an overuse of adverbs and adjectives, things like that. But that was toned down a lot more this time, and there was a lot more focus on the world building, the actual characters and the interactions. And I just felt that the writing was much stronger this time. And it's a small thing, but I really appreciated it. And I can tell that they have matured as a writer. The characters were fantastic. Every single character had a distinct personality. You've got Naya, who's just the friendly jock goofball, but with a heart of gold. You got Teo, who is very much a protector and very much steps into the reluctant hero role beautifully. You've got Aurelio, who is the shy, quiet, reserved type, but deep down he's really protective. There's Ocello, who is like just an absolute dick. And it just, every single character felt real and distinct. Even though we didn't get in-depth descriptions of what they all looked like, I feel like I know who these characters are. If they were to walk past me in the street, I would know who every single character is. The only downside that I had to this book, which is what stopped me from giving it a 5-star rating, at the start of the book you get a lot of information. Like, the prologue is beautifully written and fantastic, and it sets it up like a Disney movie. Think sort of Moana and Brother Bear, where you've got those storytellers at the beginning giving you the story of how they came to be where they're at now. It read like that, and it was gorgeous. But then the actual first couple of chapters, when we got into it, there were just so many new characters introduced, so many places mentioned, so much going on, that I kind of got a bit confused and a bit lost. And then at the end of the book, I felt the ending was rushed, and I just felt that the last chapter or two, certainly the last chapter, I just feel like it could have been used more for the intro of the second book and been spread out a little bit more, because again, we had a lot of names, we had a lot of stuff going on, we had a lot of action suddenly happening, and it just felt a little bit like, you know, we've been building up and we've had this thing going on, and then just the ending just felt very abrupt, and it was kind of like, things happened, this happened, this is right, okay, next book. And it was, I don't know, like I said, I just feel like the ending could have been either the very last bit could have been the start of the second book, or it could have just been spread out a little bit more. It didn't end on a cliffhanger, which I am grateful for, and it's set up beautifully for the next one, but I just feel like, I don't know, the pacing went a little bit off for me at that point in the book. So yeah, like I said, I had a fantastic time with this book. I think everything was great. There was just some issues with the pacing and a little bit of over-explanation that kind of set me back a little bit, which is why I didn't quite give it 5 stars. But I have no doubt that the next book will be 5 stars if it's on the same level as this one, because I've got a feeling that Aiden's going to break me. Yeah, that is my review of the Sunbearer Trials by Aiden Thomas. It is out now. I will post links to Waterstones below for those in the UK, so you can go get it. Yet again, a fantastic book by Aiden Thomas, cementing themselves as one of my absolute favourite authors. Let me know in the comments below if you have read this book and what your thoughts are, and as always, please keep it spoiler free. I hope you're all good, I hope you're staying safe, and until next time.